Welcome on this lovely Memorial Day to Let Me Touch Your Mind, the show where we try to get you to be something, do something, experience something, enjoy something, or in this case, take part in something. As you know, every year there is a NAMIWalk here in San Francisco, and here to talk about that NAMIWalk, I'd like to welcome two guests from the organization, Gifford Boyce Smith, MD, and John Mitchum. Welcome, gentlemen.
We're happy to be here.
Delighted.
So tell me a little bit about, for our listening audience who maybe hasn't heard about it, what is NAMIWalk?
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Goes back to 1979. Actually grew up in the Bay Area. There was a local affiliate where there was a reaction from organized psychiatry talking about schizophrenic parents, and particularly schizophrenic mothers, and the local folks took exception to that, and with a more scientifically trained psychiatrists, formed an organization called originally AMI, the Alliance on Mental Illness, and it was about supporting parents, but it was also about supporting individuals with mental illness.
And when did it change from AMI to NAMI?
Well, I think when the national organization was formed, at this point in time, that national organization was formed in Wisconsin, but now there's a NAMI statewide organization in every state in the country. Headquarters for national NAMI are in Washington, D.C. But important to your local listeners is that there's a NAMI in every county in the Bay Area. And for support around mental illness, we are really the leading grassroots organization.
Excellent. How did both of you get involved with NAMI?
Well, I got involved because I have a daughter who some years ago, as a young adult, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And my wife and I knew nothing about the illness, and the few things we thought we knew, we now know were incorrect. We were very fortunate. Our daughter's psychiatrist told us, you might want to check out this organization called NAMI. And we did, and they... an organization of volunteers, of people who have mental illness, families of people with mental illness, providers of services to people with mental illness. They started teaching us about our daughter's illness and how to help her. And so my wife and I have been involved for about 15 years now.
Excellent. Now, I have since you mentioned that you said that your daughter had schizophrenia. At what point did you guys start to think there's something a little off here? Because a lot of people out there don't necessarily, because sometimes it happens so slowly, they don't necessarily understand that the mental illness is manifesting itself. They maybe think their child is being willful or...
Yeah. Well, she had already graduated from university. She looks back and sees some things now that describes to us, and they certainly sound like early manifestations. But it seemed in her case, like you mentioned, that it developed quite slowly, and she was about 25 when she was diagnosed. But by that time, it was pretty clear that some very strange things were going on in her head.
Okay. And about... how long was it from the time that you guys started wondering what's going on here till the time for the diagnosis?
It was pretty quick. I don't remember exactly. In her case, we got her to a psychiatrist, and he didn't make a quick diagnosis because for certain reasons that's not what you do with schizophrenia. But it was pretty evident that that's what the symptoms, and they've been pretty consistent. And as with many other people, she has done quite well despite her illness. And one of the lessons from our experience is that people can do very well if they're a bit fortunate, find the right care, and have good support.
Excellent. You're listening to 89.5 FM KPOO San Francisco. We're here we're talking with the people about the NAMI walks, which is I would like you
May
to-
30th,
May 30th, thank you.
Saturday, Golden Gate Park.
So for people who are getting involved with NAMI for the first time, what kinds of things, what can they take away from it?
Well, we are the definitive support organization, so people will wander the wilderness of the fragmented delivery system before they finally get help, before they finally have a sense of community and start to understand the illness. So it's important earlier rather than later people come to us to take advantage of our free support programs, free for individuals with mental illness. There's something called peer-to-peer, where those who have gone through difficulties come to become stable, can be actually instructive in how to create your own case management program and teach people how to take care of themselves and maneuver, even though they have the most serious of mental illnesses, schizophrenia, as you just heard about, or bipolar disorder in the case of my son. And that peer support or mentoring is absolutely vital for folks getting back on their feet and going through the hope and recovery path that we're really interested in. And then similarly on the family side, and this is where I became aware of NAMI, the family course, the 12-week course that we offer is really critical. There's a whole series of other programs, I mean, high school level and lots of things to break the stigma and try and get everybody talking and understanding. But those two core programs, peer-to-peer and family-to-family, are pretty important.
Now let's talk about people who don't necessarily recognize some of the warning or some of the hallmarks of schizophrenia. How would the average person who thinks something's a little wrong here, maybe someone has a parent or a sibling who is schizophrenic, but they don't recognize it yet. What are some of the things that would help them think maybe this person needs some guidance or help?
Well, just to clarify, we're talking about three major serious mental illnesses. So schizophrenia in the case of John's daughter, bipolar disorder in the case of my son, also major depression, and then thrown in there typically is PTSD, which everyone is hearing about from the soldiers, or obsessive compulsive disorder. But those three typically, major depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. So there's going to be clinical presentation slightly different. The behavior is going to be slightly different in each of those, but grandiose thinking, kind of bizarre behavior, big aggression, big sadness, unable to function normally. When the behavior is just way out of norm and the person's level of functioning is not normal, they're not sleeping, they're not eating, they're not able to commonly interact with friends that they had before their illness, lots of different conditions or behavior changes. And so frankly, if you're a little bit suspicious, you're better to work with your family member and do something early rather than later.
Excellent. And for people who are listening who want to find out or more about NAMIWalk and the programs that you guys offer, where would they go?
Well, about the walk, they could go to the following website, www.namiwalks.org/Bay Area. I might say that one more time.
Please.
NAMIWalks.org/Bay Area.
Okay.
And that gives all the information about the walk. Also, there are websites that describe lots of information about NAMI, and there's a NAMI National website, a NAMI California website, and then each local affiliate. And as Giff said, every Bay Area county has an affiliate. In fact, Alameda County has two. But each of those have their own website, so there's a wealth of information about NAMI on websites.
Just to keep it simple, so you heard the /Bay Area for the NAMI Walk. So NAMIWalk /Bay Area. And then for everyone else, all you have to do is go on NAMI.org. So one word, NAMI.org. Click on the California map, because there's a whole map of the United States, and you'll get to your individual county. So if you live in Alameda, there's a telephone number to call, there's a website to dial into, and you'll find similar services in every one of the local Bay Area. So the programs that John and I will describe, like peer-to-peer and family-to-family, exist in all those chapters.
So for the NAMIWalk that's happening this Saturday, actually, how many people do you normally get for the walks?
Roughly 3,000.
That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. And how long does what's the route for them?
This is an easy peasy walk here.
Ooh,
We're
okay.
talking 2K or 5K. It's really more of a happening in the meadow, where there's tents set up and balloons and things to eat and
That's at Linwood
inspirational
Meadow,
talks. Yeah, but you're not going to be too stressed or exhausted by the walk itself.
And you could bring your kids, and they could go on the walk too.
Yes.
Excellent. Can people bring their pets to go on the walk?
Yo, lots of pets.
Excellent. So it looks here like the registration is at 8:30, and there are some opening events.
Yes, but also we want to emphasize that unlike some walks, this walk is free. Anybody can join in. We do ask that they register.
Okay.
And also then, as you've said, there are free events during the walk or before the actual walk of speeches and music during the walk. Usually some sort of band playing music. Last year I had a number of my walk team members who sort of wouldn't quit after walking. They kept dancing to the band until they finally
nice.
shut it down.
Our primary goal here is to get this out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
This is sort of like, being gay, 20 years ago. We need people to talk about it, to learn about it, to not be kept quiet by the stigma or the embarrassment that happens, and to find out that there's a community of people ready to help you.
Now, do you find that over the years there has been a growing acceptance of the diagnosis of bipolar and clinical depression, and schizophrenia, or do you still find that it's something that people just don't want to talk about?
I'm a physician, so I am a little impatient about this public health crisis. It's happening at glacial pace in terms of what you're saying. Even though we're having a national conversation on some of the crisis in mental illness, the real comfort and awareness and education that should be occurring in the public, in the media, is not happening anywhere near fast enough. So, if you just are sort of mildly interested, you're going to be one out of every one of your listeners, one out of four of those families. 25% of your listeners has somebody in their family with severe mental illness. So it's a big problem impacting 25% of your listeners. They should all come to the walk and show support.
Excellent. I just have one more question for you, Doctor, which is, do you feel that the insurance is starting to cover mental health treatment, or is it still off the chart?
It's still fragmented. What we're hoping for is what we call integrated care, when you show up and you have your mind and your body, and it's integrated, and people treat you that way. We're still talking in this day and age about mental health carve-outs, sort of like your dental plan is a carve-out. It should be fully integrated. Some of the better holistic treating physicians are that way. But regardless of whatever fraction delivery system we're talking about, the referral by anyone, psychologist, psychiatrist, or medical doctor, to NAMI is critical. It's free. There's no barriers for that referral. Okay. And there isn't any place else where an individual family suddenly dealing with somebody like both John and I have in terms of daughter and son can go to get the information and help that they need. So we would like to have a really solid relationship with both the medical community and the psychiatric and psychology community, because referrals are critical.
Excellent. And I want to also ask about for the youth out there who have a parent who's schizophrenic but undiagnosed, what kind of resources are available for them?
Well, we have two programs for youth. One is actually called Ending the Silence, and the idea there is it's a 1-hour presentation to high school classes about mental illness and about how to talk about it. And this is useful both for young people to help each other and hopefully break the stigma, so if they have a friend, say, who's having a major problem, they won't poke fun and derision at the friend. They'll help and support the friend. And then similarly, if they have a parent who has a major problem, they will help and support the parent and try to get the parent to get the professional help that he or she needs. Now, another similar program, not similar, but another program which indirectly is for youth is Parents and Teachers as Allies, and it's a program to train teachers who, after all, have very little training in mental health as part of their credential program, just to give them a brief introduction to mental health issues so that if they have a child, as almost certainly they do at times, who has problems, they can refer the parents to places to get assistance.
And that's really important.
Those are really important.
Because I think teachers actually can distinguish sometimes between someone who's just kind of disruptive a little bit and someone who has real problems and they just don't know what to do about that.
Let me just make one point about the Ending the Silence program John just mentioned, which is our experience here in San Francisco. So we have a memorandum of understanding with both private and public schools all over the city. We did 81 presentations last year. Unlike college, where there's already stigma and the college kids are not raising their hands when they're asked if there's any mental illness in the classroom. At the high school level, 25% of the kids in a classroom of 30 are standing up and saying, I think that's me, or I think that's my mother. It's just incredibly hopeful. And these classes, when the Ending the Silence teachers are college age, so it's a little bit easier to identify because it's a young person talking to a young person. And we're getting incredible response. And that allows us to start to identify a family, an index family, and then provide them the best and current science, which is showing that you can intervene early and prevent a really bad psychotic illness from happening.
Excellent, excellent. Well, gentlemen, one more time for our listening audience, when and where for the walk this coming Saturday?
This coming Saturday at Golden Gate Park.
What time?
And gather any time from 8:30 on. People will actually start walking at 11. The program starts at 10. It's in Lindley Meadows, Golden Gate Park. We ask that everybody register, but they can register while they're, when they attend, and we have a good time walking in a beautiful area, celebrating with our families and friends, coming out of the closet, saying, we have people who have mental illness. They're good people, just like all the rest of you.
And for anyone who is dealing with issues in their family, remember NAMI.org, click on California, find the county that you live in, and find the organization and give them a call.
And is there any other message that you'd like to leave our listening audience with?
I think the important message of all, the most important, is that particularly with early treatment, but in general, people can do well with any of these diseases given good treatment, good support, maybe a little luck, but they can do well. And at our organization, we see dozens, if not hundreds, of people who have mental illness who are doing well despite their illness.
Hope and recovery. That's what we're selling. Hope and recovery.